Plugin of the week is the Brainworx BX Digital V3. V3 is an update to the V2 of the Brainworx Digital EQ, and this is a modeling of the hardware for mastering that was created in 2006 by Brainworx. This is an epic EQ in terms of work for mastering work. Everything starts here around the center section, and there's a whole slew of new features that were added in. Some of the things that were added in were more slopes and filter types. Frequency range on the high end is extended up to 40K. Proportional Q added in, so it allows you to work more like an API where the Q narrows as you boost more or attenuate more. There's a dynamic EQ section has been expanded, so it was primarily a de-esser, but now you can also use it as an expander, and it also extends the frequency range as well. And then the bass and presence shifters also have some additional options with 3 tones that you can set, A, B, and C. So when you start with the plugin, the first thing you want to do is you want to set the mode. So you could set it to MS, which is sort of the classic style that it's used. You could set it to MS Record for recording, and then you could also set it to left-right, which works it in a standard stereo configuration. Now it has some really unique features that you don't really see. One is an auto solo feature. So when you actually grab onto a parameter, it will solo not only that particular band, but the function that you're actually working on. And you can actually set up what it is. You want to solo up just the Q setting, the frequency, the gain, or any or all of the above. So what happens is whenever you click on a particular knob, you will solo and focus in on that characteristic. You can reverse the left and right. You could take the EQ in and out. You can globally link the EQ left-right. So in other words, you can actually link individual section by section, or you can do so globally, and this would make the settings happen all on an individual basis. And from here, then you can unlink any particular parameter that you want. So it's very cool. So if you operated, for example, in MS mode, you may want to filter off more on the high frequencies. So say that you wanted to run in this particular mix, I can run a filter higher on the side signals, and that will help that low end to sort of tighten up in the center. And so sometimes that's a simple way of kind of focusing up and getting some mud out of something without actually removing low end. So it's very cool. You also have 60 dB, 12 dB, so you have a first order filter, or you can turn it off, or second order noise filter on the low end, so you can kind of work with it that way. So you have all those basic parameters. You have gain input, gain output. You also have a stereo width control, so this will operate across the full frequency spectrum, and this will allow you to expand the stereo image up to 400%, or effectively mono it. And then you have a balance left-right. Now, this is sort of a tilting thing. When you balance left and right, what you're getting is you're changing the amount of level on the left and the right side. And so if you end up in a case in a mastering situation where one side is uneven from the other, you do that. What's also cool is you can pan the mono signal, so the mid signal. So if you take the mid signal and it's a little bit off kilter for whatever reason, maybe from the original mix or mix print, then you can compensate for that. So that allows you to kind of pan the center image. You can hear primarily like the kick drum. And it's really incredibly transparent the way that that works. So it's actually quite cool. So the MS processing is really, really solid and tight. And then there's also a pan on the side signals. Now, this is sort of interesting. This concept, it's much more subtle than the gain movement on the left and right side. So you can actually swing the side signal more towards the left or more towards the right, which is different than the balance control. So this is a more subtle effect, and you can kind of work with that as well. You've got the reverse on the left, right. So just in the section, you have an incredible amount of control. Now, there's also a feature here which kind of works in conjunction with this, and that is the mono maker. And what this does is it sets a frequency which monos below a particular frequency. So you can send all frequencies below whatever you set here to mono. So I could essentially bring it all the way up to 22K and mono up the whole mix, which is not the reason why you use it. again, sort of like what I was doing here where I was filtering off the low end from the sides. It's kind of a cool thing in that and this becomes really helpful for people who do a lot of club mixes where you have mono subs, and so you want that to image really solid and really pound, where the crossover is basically mono everything up in the clubs. You can sort of pre-master it that way. And also sometimes there's a little bit too much movement in the left, right, and the sub low end that can kind of create a lot of muddiness. So this is a way of kind of helping to focus everything that's going on. Now, as far as the basic EQs, you have a high-pass filter, low-pass filter. You can kind of link those. You can actually you can solo the mid signal, and you can kind of listen to just that. What's interesting is that when you solo the side signal, it shows up in the center as opposed to an out-of-phase information from the left and right. And essentially in an MS recording, it's usually a cardioid mic facing forward and a figure 8 mic facing sideways. And so the microphone on the figure 8 is rejecting signals coming directly from it. That's what the cardioid mic facing forward is picking up. And it's receiving signals from both sides. Now, the way that information is separated is that it's hitting the microphone from different sides, and that would be phase information, left and right. So you split that signal, typically feed one side out of phase, and then you mix that in with the center signal, and that's what gives you your left-right. And it images impeccably. It's really an amazing miking technique. So I've used it quite a lot in recordings, and it's really powerful. But the actual original signal is just a mono signal, that microphone that you bring in, and when you split it and flip the other side out of phase, that's where you create the side signal. So what you're hearing is sort of that monoed up original signal, full frequency. So that you might, if you think that it's not broken, that's actually kind of more true to the original way that it's set up. On this end, you have 5 bands for the mid and for the side. They're basically all the same. On the low end, if it's all the way down here, you have a shelf. Otherwise, it goes to a wide Q all the way to a narrow Q. And the same thing working from the other side on the high end. So other than that, you have full parametrics in the middle, and you have the ability to make them all proportional Q as you kind of work with the individual bands. So we could take something, for example, let's just say here I wanted to do something. I'm just going to kind of sweep in a frequency here on the mid. And you could see here that when I'm clicking here, I'm soloing up so I can actually hear, right, the frequency selection. And then if I focus on this, that actually allows me to focus on the area that's being affected. And I could do a small dip in there. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a little bit of a narrower. All right, so I can focus on that. Now my sides are linked here, so if I wanted to, I could take these 2 bands out and just normal them up. Maybe cover a wider area, making that a little bit narrow. So what I'm trying to do there is just basically make the low end sync. Really powerful and incredibly flexible. Now if I relink, what happens if I relink on this side, these parameters will change to the same settings as here. So sometimes I want to work just on a mid signal, sometimes I want to focus more on just the side signal. Now, just as a quick way, because I could go through all the individual bands and I'm not sure that this is going to can kind of go on forever and ever here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take this, solo this out, and then also show you here this feature, which is kind of cool. And this is just the bass shift. So what you can see here is I have a bass shift. This is linked for both sides. And what this does is it creates something similar to what I was trying to do. And I'll exaggerate it a little bit just so you can kind of hear it. And this is doing a dip in the mid-range and then a bump on the low end to just kind of make it sync a little bit. Now there are 3 different characteristic tonal shapes. This is A, B, C. And so this is just like a classic overall tonal shift. You could do a similar type of thing on the top end. So you have the A, B, and C. So you can see what I got. Oh, I guess I still have a filter there on that other side. But you can get a basic idea of what that's all about. And those are quick present shift kind of things, which are kind of cool. Another thing that you can do here, which is sort of fun, is if you could take these 2 guys, I'll keep them linked. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a boost here, but I'm going to shift my frequency really high. So if I shift my frequency up around 40K, then what I can do is I can create a lift on the top end. It's amazing that you can hear anything at all, given that that's 40K, because it's kind of obviously it extends down lower. Something out here. Obviously, I clicked on another parameter that I wasn't supposed to have because something obviously shifted there and kind of cut things. So not sure what that's all about. But you get the basic idea there on that shelf. It's kind of like turns it into a tilt EQ. Really powerful EQ. And in addition to all this, you get the pre-post EQ levels, the total output levels, so you can make adjustments on that end. You get balance and phase correlation meters. One of the most powerful mastering EQs out there, just precise, really clean, filters all really smooth, beautiful EQ, great one. And some really welcome, nice additions on the V3 here by Brainworx. All right, there you have it. That's the Brainworx BX V3, the BX Digital V3, excuse me, plugin of the week.